Hello everyone, I am so happy to see you. According to YouTube analytics, over 70% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. If you guys want Pugsley to eat this month, I suggest you do so. Enjoy the video guys, I'll love you guys forever and always. Hello everyone, and welcome to the long-awaited Season 13 Gnar item tier list. I know it's preseason, but it kind of counts as Season 13, right? So I haven't done one of these since Season 11, so I really do want to update it. So I made this myself, but I forgot to add the new jungle items, so I'll go ahead and do that really quickly. They're all three like really good, but since Gnar isn't good jungle, it's hard to rank them high, but I would probably rank them around C or B tier. So anyways, let's get into the tier list. So there's broken, S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, E tier, and F tier. I have pretty much every legendary and mythical item here. I also have like starting items, dark seal, boots, things like that. I didn't want to include like every like component, but these are the main important ones. Anyways, let's get straight into the tier list. So I'm just gonna go in order here. Future Fire. So again, I'm probably gonna be changing this list around a lot, but this item isn't really good. I'm just gonna put it in F tier. Abyssal Mask. So this got changed a little bit. So it's basically the same as last season, but it added mana, which Gnar doesn't really like. So I'll just put it in D tier for now. I might move this up. Actually, I'll put it in C tier for now. Like, the passive is great, but it's very situational, so we'll just put it in C tier for now. And the theme is changed. Let's see. I want to put this in A tier. This is also a situational item, but you can actually build it more often. It's great against hyper carries. Some champs I can think of, well, pretty much any champ that's really fed, but you think of ADCs that are really fed or junglers that are really fed. That's when I most commonly use it. Okay, so the mana, I forgot what these are called, but I think they're both F tier. Ardent Censer. This actually isn't like F tier material. I think it's E tier. The on hit effect actually isn't horrible if you're playing support Gnar, so, but there's definitely like way better items than this. Axiomark. I definitely do not think it's a good item. It's D tier probably. I might move this down to E, but for now I'll put it in D since Ardent's an E. Banshee's Veil. It has MR. I'll put it at the bottom of D for now. I definitely think whenever we get to Edge of Night, actually I'll go and bring it up here. Edge of Night isn't horrible. I'll put it like around C tier. It's it's very situational with Edge of Night because it has lethality and you know you can dodge and attack with it, but it isn't really that like good on Gnar especially. But there are definitely situations where you could build it, so C is definitely there. Battle Song. I do not really like this item. I'll just put it in F. Berserker Greaves. I think this is a pretty good item for mid lane Gnar, especially if you're trying to go off meta like with AP Gnar. It's pretty decent. Also when you're snowballing it is good, but there's obviously better boots options. Black Cleaver. Okay. I think this is our first broken item. Cleaver is just your perfect second item if you're ahead. Trinity combined with Cleaver is just so good because since the durability patch, every single champ has so much more resistances and health. So Cleaver just helps you do that extra amount of damage that you need as Gnar. Bloodthirster. I'm gonna put this probably in D tier. This item will be better, but they're just better lifesteal items. I can see why you would like it on Gnar, but it's just not for me. Speaking of lifesteal items, here's Bork. I'm gonna put this in A tier. It's not a bad snowball item. Actually, let's put this at the top of A tier. Whenever you're snowballing, you can really utilize this item to gain leads. And I definitely think it's good combined with items like Iceborne, Heartsteel, the new items. So yeah, I think Bork is pretty good. CDR boots. I do not really like these boots. I'm gonna put them in D tier, I guess. I mean, you already get a lot of CDR from the items that you build on Gnar, so you don't really need them. Chainsword, I'm gonna put this in B. This probably would be A tier if it didn't just get nerfed recently, but since it got nerfed, I'll put it in B. The cost is 2,800. It could be worse, but there are cheaper items like Thornmail. I mean, it's a good item to pick up if you need healing reduction, but if you can just build Thornmail, I just think it's better. But it's still good in some situations. Collector, I definitely do not really like this item. Let's just put it in D tier for now. Actually, we'll put it in C tier. If you're snowballing, you can use this item, but other than that, I don't really like it. I know Thing in the Ice builds this sometimes, so I'll just put it there for him, I guess. Cosmic Drive, let's just go ahead and put this down here in E tier. I definitely think it's more useful than these items down here in F tier, but yeah, Cosmic Drive can just sit here at E. Crown, okay, this is one of the more useful AP items, but still not good at all. Definitely don't recommend it. Coal, okay, I'm gonna put this in S tier. It's so useful. You have a range advantage and top lane, so it's easier to farm, and you can hit item spikes faster whenever you reach 100 minions whenever you complete this item. So it's really good on your first or second back. Like, people overlook coal value so much, and like the stats on it, like, it's really good. 7 damage and 3 life on hit. I mean, the value is pretty good. Combined with D-Blade, like, it's pretty much a Vampiric Scepter at that point. Okay, D-Shield, I think this is an S tier item as well. Like, I can't believe like how busted D-Shield has been, and it hasn't gotten nerfed at all. Like, I know streamers saying that D-Shield second wind's good. You don't even need second wind, I feel like, anymore. As long as you just have D-Shield, it's so good. Dark Seal, I think this item isn't horrible. I'm gonna put it C tier. If you like are really snowballing, you can just pick this up, 350 gold. It gives you health and a little bit of AP. This is another thing in the ice item. I love how he builds, so yeah, I just admire his items sometimes. I don't really gold them often, but I can see why a player would gold them. D-Blade, I'm gonna put this in A tier. It's not as consistent as, I think, D-Shield. And then the value Cole gives is just better. Obviously, this gives 80 health, which is good, but I feel like D-Shield's just better in most cases. Unless you can just absolutely bully your opponent, then sure. But in most cases, you're at least gonna get poked a little bit, so just having the insurance of D-Shield is just so good. But don't get me wrong, D-Blade's still a great starting item whenever you can go it. Deadman's, I think I'm also gonna put this in A tier. I don't think it's Gnar's best armor item, but it's still good. It's definitely good whenever there's champs that have tons of movement speed, or even champs that take ghost. I think of champs like Darius or Hecarim. Champs like that are pretty good to build demons with, and you know, the magic damage on it whenever you're just running as well is pretty good. So not a bad item on Gnar. Death Cap, okay, I'm gonna just put this D. I guess it's technically better than these items since it gives flat AP, but still, definitely do not recommend it. It's too expensive, and AP Gnar is not that viable right now. Death Stance, let's put this in, yeah, we'll put it in S tier. I think when you're ahead, this item is fantastic, but it's more of like a third or fourth item, so you don't really build it that much. I definitely do think whenever you're ahead though, it's amazing, but I do think there are some better armor items. But still, in situations where you feel like you're snowballing and you need that passive, then yeah, pick it up. Demonic Embrace, okay, this is actually one of the better AP items. I guess I'll just put it above Death Cap. It just gives like ability power and health, so it's just okay, I guess, right? Divine, okay, I'm going to put this in, I think S tier is good. I might move this later, but it's a very good situational mythic item against tanks. I know it's not as good as before with the nerfs. I think before I had this in broken, but I think it's gone down to S for now. But it's still good against tanky teams. I would say I only build this like 5 to 10% of the time now. I do not know the numbers, but that I exactly go to build it, but it's still very good in certain situations, even one-on-one. Duskblade, don't really like this item. I mean, I think I was gonna put it in, I guess I'll put it in D. I'll put it at the bottom of D. Eclipse, okay, this is one of the better legendary lethality items. I'll just put it in C tier. Definitely do not recommend though. Actually, I'll put it at the top of D tier. I don't think it deserves C tier. Essence, okay, this is straight up, I think an E tier item. Sure, the Sheen proc is okay, but it's just, there's just better Sheen items on Gnar. Definitely do not recommend this. Even Shroud. I would say this is C tier. It's definitely better than I think all of these items. So, but you just never should go it. That's the thing. Unless you're playing support Gnar for fun. Everfrost. Okay, so this is where things could get controversial, but I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put at the top of C tier. I think this is one of Gnar's best AP mythics, especially for mid lane. If you remember last season, there was a little thing with AP Gnar, but then the durability patch came, so it kind of fell off. But it's still okay. It's very good for mega engages, so it's not the worst item on Gnar. Thimble Winter, I think this is. I don't really like it. I'll put it in E tier though, since it does give health. I'll put it like near up here. But it is a mana item, so I do not like it that much. Force of Nature. This is one of Gnar's better MR items. I'm actually gonna put this in S tier. It's really reliable whenever you need MR, especially if you're going even, when it's hard to build AD MR items without health. So it just does its job really, doesn't it? Frozen Heart. So this does have a lot of armor. I mean, in some situations it's good, but I do believe Randuin's is better. But we'll put it in C tier since it has a ton of armor and is good against attack speed champions. Gale Force. I actually like this item. It's not horrible. I'll put it like around here. I think that's a good spot for it in C tier. It's definitely better than some of the mythic items, but it just feels like old Strikebreaker with the dash. So we'll put it in C tier just for that. Only for that reason, really. Ghostblade. I would say this is probably D tier. Sure, it gives movement speed, but the stats are just not good on it at all for Gnar. Actually, I think I'll put that in E tier. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna put Duskblade down here as well. I don't really like these two items. Gore Drinker. Okay, this item actually isn't horrible. I'm gonna put this in B tier. Remember when Gore Drinker was a thing on Gnar? Korean Gnar players used to build this all the time. I still don't think it's horrible. It's just that obviously there's better mythic items now, so you can't really go it as often. Maybe if it gets a buff, it will come back in as meta, but it's already meta on a lot of other champions, so I understand why Riot wouldn't buff it. Guardian Angels. I think this is a top of S tier item, honestly. The reason why it isn't broken is because the cooldown on it is pretty long, and the build path, obviously, it's not the best on Gnar, but it's still really good for late game. Like as 4th, 5th item, it's amazing. You can really clutch team fights with it. It has like not a lot of good stats though, so that's why it's not in broken, I feel like, but it's still an amazing item. Heartsteel. Okay, this has been my favorite item of preseason so far. This may be controversial, but I'm putting this baby in S tier. I genuinely think I'm going to be going this item a lot. Whenever you have a lead, I think this item's perfect to go because you can just continue to snowball your lead by getting even more tankier. And the thing is, you don't have to build tank items after this. You can build items like Death Stance, Wit's End, Sterax, Black Cleaver, and you can like really still do a ton of damage because the item also does damage. Don't forget that. That's why I think Heartsteel will be one of Gnar's best items, or at least mythic items. Rocket Belt, same thing as Gale Force. It's pretty good. I'll just put it right next to each other, I guess. It's definitely one of Gnar's better AP items, I would say. Horizon Focus, definitely don't like this item, but I'll put it in E since it has more stats than these items in F tier. Zhonya's, okay, I'm gonna put this in B tier. It's a really good situational item. However, I do think items like Guardian Angel are just better in most situations, but if the enemy team's full AD and you just need to dodge an ultimate, then getting Zhonya is honestly perfect. It's very situational though. Hullbreaker. If this was middle of season last year or this year, season 12, definitely. Do you guys remember the Hullbreaker meta? Whenever champs like Gnar, Graves were building it in the top lane, it was crazy. But for now, I think I'll just leave it in A tier. It's still a good situational item whenever you want to split push. I definitely think it's great to build against other champs that build Hullbreaker and you want to match the split push. So it still definitely has its place in our builds, I feel like. And the build path is also great with Phage. Okay, Iceborne. Okay, I definitely like this item. I think I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. I do think it's a little bit better than Gore Drinker, but yeah, the Sheen proc is really good on it. It feels really good. And I like the fact that it just gives you 50 armor and no MR now, so it's a very good armor item if you are going into a heavy AD team. So it's definitely a great situational mythic item. Obviously, I think items like Heartsteel, Trinity, Divine are better to go in most cases. Imperial Mandate, I think this is one of the better support Gnar items, so I'm just gonna put it at D tier. I definitely think it's better than all of these items down here, and Moonstone and Battlesong. Infinity Edge, again, it gives more stats than items in E tier, so I'm just gonna put it in D tier as well. I mean, if you go full crit Gnar, obviously this item you should build, but I definitely do not recommend it. Jack Show, so I just tried this recently in a video. I'm going to put it around the same as Even Shroud. Actually, I'll put it a little bit above. I think it's better than Even Shroud. The thing is, there's just better tank items on Gnar, let's be honest. And you can't utilize it as well either. Maybe in Mega, but I definitely think there's better items out there. Knight's Vow. This item is okay at best. I'll just put it in D tier. I used to build this sometimes whenever like I'm just trying to get my hyper carry on my team. Just needs a little bit more help, but it's okay. I'll just put it bottom of D tier. Kraken Slayer. Okay, technically I think this item has better stats overall than most of these items down here, so I'll just put it at the bottom of C tier. But still, I do not recommend building this item unless you want to for fun, but definitely not in ranked. Leandries, okay, I definitely do not like this item on Gnar. I'm just gonna put it at E tier. It has a lot of mana and just not really a lot of good stats on Gnar. Lichbane, same thing. I mean, it does have a Sheen proc. Just for that, I'll put it at D tier. But other than that, the stats just aren't really that good on Gnar. Locket, okay, we'll just put this. I'm gonna put like a lot of the tank mythics in C tier right next to each other because they're all really like the same really performance wise on Gnar. The shield is pretty nice, so I'll put that. I think it's better than these two probably. I'm not sure. I don't know how to rank these items. Lord Doms, again, it's just another one of those crit items that technically has more stats than these that are better on Gnar, so I'll just put it in D tier. Ludens, this is definitely E tier, I think. Same thing with Leandries, it's just not good at all on Gnar. Mana Mune, so this is definitely an E tier item. I definitely think it's better than the AP versions since you get, you know, at least some AD. Let me find the upgraded version. Here we are. Well, you guys can go right next to each other. I guess this is technically a little bit better, and I'll put that there. Okay, Maul. Okay, this item's pretty good. I'm gonna put it in. Yeah, I'll put it in A tier. Should I? Nah, I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. I'll put it near the top of B tier, like right here. I think there's better magic resist items on Gnar, but this is definitely a great situational item, especially when the enemy team is AP heavy. The shield is great, and the AD is great, but it did get nerfed, I believe, so B tier is good. Okay, Medjai's. I'm actually going to put this lower. I'm going to put this in D tier because I think it costs too much to build and it's too risky, especially on Gnar. I just think Darksteel is just a better item because it literally only costs 350 gold and the stats on it are just crazy for the price. Okay, I forgot what this item is called, but I do not think it's the best. I'll put it near the top of D tier. It's nice, but I definitely think Silvermere is better. And speaking of Silvermere, I'll go and rank this. I'll actually put it at the bottom of B tier. I think it's very situational though. I like to build it against high CC, maybe champs like Mordekaiser, maybe if you're going against Ashe, just to get rid of the Ashe arrow effect, maybe Sejuani, things like that. And speaking of that, we have Mikhail's Blessing. I actually think this is one of the better support items on Gnar. I'm going to put this in C tier. It's very situational, but if you're building full tank anyways, and you just need to help peel your hyper carry, I think Mikhail's is pretty good to go as a 4th or 5th item if you need to peel one of your hyper carries that's really fed. And plus, if you need MR, pick it up. Why not? if you just need one of these types of items. Again, it's very situational, but I get its purpose. Okay, Merc Treads. I think I'm gonna put this in A tier. It's really good, but with a lot of the items and dragons getting tenacities now, it isn't as useful as before, but I still think it has its place. Obviously, whenever you need to build against a lot of CC, I definitely think there are better boots though, and I'll get to that soon. Okay, Mobies. Okay, I don't really like this on R. I'm just gonna put this in F tier. I don't think you should ever build Mobies on R unless you're playing Gnar support for fun. Moonstone, I'm definitely going to put this in F tier. Morello's, I guess I'll put this in E tier. It's a little bit better than whatever this item is, Putrefier. Mortal Reminder, I actually like this item. I'm gonna put this in C tier, or B tier, I mean. I think if you're snowballing and you need healing reduction, I think it's better to go Mortal Reminder rather than Chimpunk because you get movement speed, attack speed, and a lot of damage with it. Sure, you get health with this item and CDR, but if you're snowballing, you're just looking to get those extra auto attacks. And here's another thing, it costs less. So it just feels good as a snowball item on Gnar. But definitely, if you're not ahead, definitely Chainsword is better. But yeah, I would say Mortal Reminder is B tier for Gnar. Nashor's Tooth. Okay, so this item isn't bad for Gnar AP. I'll just put it in D tier, I guess. Definitely still not good. There's better items like Witsid. The Void Quick Blade, I don't really like this item. I'll just put it in E tier because you need 60% crit now, and there's not really any situation where you should have 60% crit on Gnar unless you're going full crit Gnar. So I just put it in E tier. Night Harvester, again, I don't really like this item, but it technically has okay stats, so I'll just put it in E tier. Phantom Dancer, okay, I think this is one of the better snowball items on Gnar. It's kind of in the same boat as Mortal Reminder. It's just there if you are really snowballing. Phantom Dancer does not feel bad at all to build. I think it feels better than Gale Force, Collector. I think that's why it's on one level higher than it. Prowler's Claw, so same situation with Rocket Belt and Gale Force. It just has that feel of a dash of old Strikebreaker. So I'll just leave it in C tier. It has its place. Radiant Virtue, I have not tried this item yet, but I have a feeling it'll just have the same feel as the other support items, so I'll just put it next to it. Rageblade, okay. Same thing with Mortal Reminder and Phantom Dancer, it just has that great snowball feel, especially in Mini Gnar. I will say though, these items in Mega Gnar does not feel as good, but when you're snowballing, it shouldn't really matter. And by snowballing, I mean like you have like several kills ahead, you have mini turret plates, you have a lot of CS, so if you just want to take control of the game, these items are great. Same with Bork. Randuin's Omen. I think this item is really good. I'm going to put it in Broken. I think this is Gnar's best armor item by far. Sure, they decreased the armor and the price went up, but the one key thing that they did do is make the passive of crits where you would have to hit the slow on the champion. That's no longer a thing. You still have the slow with the active, but now permanently as a passive you dodge all crit attacks by 20% or something like that, I believe. So it's still really good, and it has the stats that Gnar needs. Ability haste, I believe, health, armor. It's just the perfect armor item for Gnar. The only better armor item in my opinion that they could make in the future would be like armor and attack speed with a very good passive. I can't see them ever doing that though, so Randuin's will just forever be broken in my opinion, as long as it has the stats that it has and the actives and passive that it has. Rapid Fire Cannon, I definitely do not like this item, but technically since it has some stats over the items in E and F tier, I'll just put it in D tier, I guess. Ravenous Hydra, so I did a video on this recently. I actually don't think it's bad if you're snowballing, so I'm just gonna put it at the top of C tier. It definitely has a place, but it's definitely hard to find a situation where you should choose to build this over other snowball items in my opinion. Redemption, I'm gonna put this in D tier. It's one of the better support items. Technically, since the heal that you can give to your team is better, but I definitely do not recommend building it I think there's better support items like Mikhail's, but if you want to try it for fun, go ahead. Rhythmaker, so this is just technically because of stats, I have to put this near the top of D tier, I guess. It's technically has better stats than the other AP items like Leandri's, Night Harvester, so I just have to put it above. Definitely not the best item on Gnar though. Rod of Ages, so I have not tried the item yet, but I still don't think it's going to be good on Gnar. I'm just going to put it in E tier. I want to do a video on it, but it is really troll, so I don't know if I want to do a video on it. Let me guys know in the comments if I should rush Rod of Ages on Gnar in one of my videos. Okay, Runons. So, could be controversial, but I don't think it is. I think it's one of Gnar's best items. And you may think I'm crazy, but I'm putting this near the top of S tier. There are so many situations where you could really build this item. And what people don't understand is the cost. It's only 2,600 gold, and you get so much value from it. Sure, the passive only works in mini Gnar, but there's so many situations where you could build it, it is crazy. So here's one situation. Obviously, when you're snowballing, it's an amazing item to have. You can push waves in faster, so you can go roam. You can take jungle camps way quicker, and it's actually better in the preseason in season 13 now, since jungle camps are more durable, they have more HP. Another thing is the items you can combine this with, on-hit items. Like items like Rageblade, Titanic Hydra. If you can get a very great lead and combine items like this, like you can just take over games. It's kind of like a Kog'Maw effect kind of. But I don't recommend doing that unless like you really have a snowball and you really believe you can take over the game. I know Thing in the Ice does that as well. I actually got some inspiration from him, but I also did it before I watched him. So that's one of the reasons why I really love watching Thing in the Ice, is because he does these unique builds, and I sometimes did them as well before I watched him. So it's just cool how I could really relate to him like that, because I had the same intentions with the items as well. Another thing with Runons is if your base is being taken, especially your inhibitors, one thing that you usually lack is wave clear on Gnar, and if you don't have a champion that can really wave clear, you can buy this item and it can save games, especially when other champions can't clear those extra cannon minions. So overall, I know I went a long rant about this item, but I truly believe it's S tier. You can have your own opinion, you can say this is C or D tier material, but I think it's S tier. Sure, I don't build it as much as before, but I still think it has its place. Okay, moving on. Rylai's, it has okay stats. We'll just put it in D tier, I guess, but definitely do not recommend. Serpent's Fang, I'm gonna put this in C tier. Again, it's one of those situational items that you don't really build, but technically there is like that 1 in 1,000 game chance circumstance where you need just basically destroy shields. Like maybe an example could be Tom Kench, Mord, Ivern, just champs that have tons of shielding. Sorelda's Grudge. I mean, I guess I have to put this in D tier. It technically has some better stats than a lot of the items in E and F tier. I actually think this is a good AD item on a lot of bruisers, but for Gnar, it is hard to build. I think it's good combined with Cleaver if you really want to go for that burst of damage, but I definitely do not recommend building it. Shadow Flame, I'm going to put this in E tier. It's not really that good. Immortal Shield Bow, I'm going to put this in B tier actually. But no, I do not recommend you build this item in ranked, but I still think it's very good if you're snowballing. But obviously there's other items like Trinity that are better. But combined with Rageblade, it feels very good as a snowball item. Especially if you have a rune like Lethal Tempo. But again, I definitely do not recommend building this. Just because you see this in B tier, I would not build this in your ranked games. It's just my opinion on how it feels. Spear of Shojin. So I did a video on this recently. I do not really like the item, but I am going to put it in C tier because it definitely has better stats for Gnar than the items in D, E, and F tier. You can build it in some circumstances. It's not really that good in mini Gnar. I mean, the movement speed is okay whenever you're low, but it's mainly a Mega Gnar item, and even then, the cooldowns aren't really that much of an issue. So yeah, I'll just put that in C tier. Spirit Visage. I think this is one of Gnar's better MR items, I'm gonna put it in. I'm actually gonna put this in S tier. You may be surprised, but there's just so many circumstances now where you can actually build Spirit Visage. For example, there's things like Ocean Soul in the game now. There's also, especially in enchanter metas, there's champs like Yumi, Soraka, just any healing / shielding champion like Sona. Sure, it's situational, but it's still very good. And if you combine it with items like Divine, Sterax, Death's Dance, you can really feel the heals. Again, it's very situational, but it's very good. Okay, plated steel caps. This is one of Gnar's best boots. I'm definitely gonna put this in S tier, probably just right here. I definitely think it's better than Merc Treads. The 12% damage reduced from auto attacks is just honestly so good. You could maybe even say it's broken, but I'm just gonna put it in S tier since it's not really like a legendary or mythic item. Very good boots on Gnar. Sterax Gauge. I definitely think this item, I want to say broken so badly. You know what? I'm just gonna do it. I know what I said in my season 12 Gnar item tier list, that this item isn't as good as before, but I've recently changed my mind about that. I still think this item is fantastic to go. The health, the damage, and the shield, honestly, perfect stats for Gnar. It feels like one of those items that just feel perfect for Gnar. Is that weird to say? I don't know. I'll just put it at top of S tier. We'll see at the end how I feel about Sterax Gauge. Gargoyles. I'm gonna put this in B tier. I think Gargoyles is a good situational item. However, I do think there are better situational items that you could build on Gnar late game. The shield is nice, but again, is Sterax. I think that is better than Gargoyles, but you know, I just think there are better items you could build than Stoneplate. Essence Reaver, definitely do not like this item. Let's just put it in E tier. Strikebreaker, okay. We remember the old Strikebreaker with the dash, but since that's got removed, let's be honest, it has not been as good as an item. I will put it in B tier though, because it's obviously better than the items in C tier. I'll put it right next to Gore Drinker. It technically still has a place, but like you're gonna be building it in less than like 1% of your games, if that. Yeah, it's just mainly good on champs like Garen and Nocturne, isn't it? It doesn't really have a place on Gnar as it used to be. But I still respect Strikebreaker. Even if you still use Strikebreaker, it's still a decent item. I just definitely think Trinity, Divine, items like that are just better to go nowadays. I do miss Strikebreaker meta though, even though as much as I hated it, it was still really fun, let's be honest. Sunfire, so this is no longer a mythic. I mean, technically the stats on it are good. I'll put it at the bottom of B tier, I guess. I can't really put Sunfire in the same category as Frozen Heart. That just wouldn't be fair. So I'll just put Sunfire here. Since it no longer has MR, I don't really like it as much. And since it's obviously a legendary item and no longer a mythic, it doesn't have all of the extra stats. So probably back then I'd probably put this in A tier, but I do not like it as much anymore. Swifties, okay, I think these boots are amazing. Almost as good as Mercury. I'll just put it on a level below Mercury Treads. Here's the thing though with Swifties, it's very situational again. I think it's good into champs like Darius, Nasus, Trundle, but again, it's very situational. But it definitely does have its place in Gnar builds. And another great thing is that it's cheaper than the other boots. Thornmail. You guys may think I'm crazy, but I am putting this in broken probably. The cost on it, only 2,700. It gives healing reduction, which is very essential. The stats on it are just good, and it does a decent amount of damage. I definitely think it's better than all of the other healing reduction items. So I'm definitely putting this in broken tier. Titanic Hydra, I'm just gonna put this in B tier next to the other on-hit items. I definitely think it's good combined with Rageblade and Runons. Again, it's very situational because you have to be snowballing to build those items together. And it's also it just gives decent stats on Gnar. I can't put Titanic in C tier where it has items like these, so I'll just put it in B tier. It's not horrible on Gnar. Trinity Force, you guys know where this is going. Broken. It just has all of the perfect stats on Gnar. I sometimes get frustrated looking at this item just because I build it so much, but let's be honest, it has the perfect stats on Gnar. Health, attack speed, AD, Sheen proc, ability haste, extra stacking damage on passive. And then on this mythic passive, you get extra AD, extra ability haste. The list goes on, and on. It's good for split pushing, for team fighting, for 1v1. It's just perfect, isn't it? So it's really hard to build another mythic item that isn't Trinity unless it's like Divine or Heartsteel and like situational purposes. It's really hard to build Iceborne, Gore, Stride. So that's why you see Trinity a lot, just because it's perfect on Gnar. Turbo Chem Tank. I'll put this in B tier right next to Sunfire. Again, it got the Sunfire treatment where it just turned into a legendary item. It does have MR, but I do think there are better MR items in the game. It's definitely good with its active, but it's definitely not the worst item on Gnar. Okay, Imperial, or what is this item called? Umbriel Glaive. I'm just gonna put this in D tier, especially with the new dragon. It's harder to build this item on Gnar. I just wouldn't do it. There's just other champions that can build it. You don't need to. Staff of Flowing Water, I'm gonna put this in E tier. Not really that good of an item, but it's definitely better than the ones at F tier in my opinion. Void Staff again, not really good stats on Gnar. Let's put it in D tier. Warmogs, okay, I'll definitely say this is a B tier item. It definitely has its purpose if you're going like really tanky Gnar build. I actually put it up a little bit higher, like around here. I think there's a problem with this item though. Like, people say that Heartsteel is bad because it doesn't have resistances, but at least with Heartsteel, you can stack it to get even more health, and I think that's what makes it so good, and it does damage. This is basically the worst version of Heartsteel, let's be honest. Warmogs is not the best item, but it technically has better stats than all the items on the lower tier, so we'll just put it in B. Okay, Winter's Approach. Same with Thimblewinter. Where did I put this? Okay, here, I found it finally in D tier. I'll just put it right next to there. Not really that good on Gnar, especially with the mana. Wit's End, okay, I'm definitely putting this in Broken. It feels too good not to be in Broken. If you can ever build Wit's End, please build it. It feels so good on Gnar. The movement speed, the attack speed, the damage, the MR, it's all perfect. The magic damage on hit. Like, this item did get nerfed a long time ago, but it still feels amazing on Gnar. Definitely Gnar's best MR item, especially when ahead. And then finally Zeki's. I'll just put this in D tier, I guess. Not really good on Gnar. Okay, now I'm going to move some things around probably. I'm gonna look through all of it. So pretty happy with F tier. Definitely don't recommend these items. I definitely will put the lethality items, just any items that have AD, just closer to the top because it's to the top of E tier, because it definitely has better stats than the AP items. Let's be honest. Mana Mune, this. Let's do that. There we go. Yeah, we can really have these AP items in any order. It doesn't matter. They're not good on Gnar, so I'm happy with E tier there. Again, I'm just going to put any AD items ahead of AP items because they're obviously better in most situations. Even the boots, Infinity Edge, Knight's Vow can go up, Rapid, Lords, Umbriel. And yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with D tier, I think. Don't really need to move the items up from there. Okay, C tier. This is where things get tricky. I think I'm actually going to move Abyssal up to B tier just because I think it's a very great situational item. Of course, it did get nerfed a little bit, but still, all you really need is the passive whenever you have a lot of ability power on your team, so you can just help assist them in team fights. So I will be moving Abyssal Mask up to B tier. Other than that, let me just move the items around, move the AP items down. I'll put Rocket Belt at near the top, and I'll put Dark Seal near the top as well. I'll definitely keep Everfrost near the top because it is technically Gnar's best AP mythic in my opinion. We'll just say the same with Rocket Belt, but I mean, you could put this in any order, these items in any order, let's be honest. So C tier looks fine. Let's look at B tier. Okay, there are a lot of items that could be A tier material? Let me think about this. So I think I am going to put Maw in A tier. I definitely see myself building it more than the items below. Actually, I'm gonna be moving a lot, I think. I'm gonna be putting Chimpunk Chainsword up here, Mortal Reminder, Titanic. I'm actually changing my mind a lot about this. I think these on-hit items honestly are very good in certain situations. So let's do that. I think I'm gonna keep Immortal Shield Bow down here. We'll just put it at the bottom. I think I'm pretty happy with this now, I think. So the reason why I put most of the these 4 on-hit items up here, because they just feel really good when snowballing. And let's be honest, these are very, very situational items down here, so it's kind of hard to build them. I'll actually put Iceborne up a little bit as well, I guess. Just because it technically has great stats for Gnar. Okay, we're in A tier now. I would say I'm pretty happy with this, I would say. But we'll see, I might change this a little bit. Okay, let's see. I do change my mind about Sterox. I do think it's pretty broken on Gnar. I really want to move Heartsteel up, but I just can't, I think. I think Trinity is just the superior, but I love Heartsteel so much. I love it so much. It's genuinely one of my favorite new items. I'll just put it at the top of S. I don't think I can say broken because Trinity literally has the perfect stats on Gnar. So it's kind of hard to compare Heartsteel to Trinity, even though I really love it. I'm gonna say Runon is definitely up here. I love Guardian Angel, but it definitely isn't as good as Randuin's. Death Dance is really, really good. Divine is also really, really good. Yeah, I think I'm really happy with A tier here. I'm happy with Bork still being an A tier. Okay, I think this is it. Let me just make a little final adjustments. I mean, you can basically, like, if they're in the same tier, you can place them in any order. But I just try to move them around a little bit just to kind of fit. But I think this is the tier list. So we'll go through it one last time. This is F tier, items that you shouldn't really ever build just because the stats aren't good. E tier technically has better stats, but still should never build. Same with D tier. It technically has better stats to the lower items and could technically be goable if you really want to, but I would not build them. C tier, very situational. You can technically build them in like the perfect game that the item would be in, but it's still very hard to build, but it definitely does has its place. But B tier is kind of the same, except it's more likely you're able to build these items in games. Maybe not Immortal Shield Bow, but it technically has better stats, so that's why it's there. A tier is, for me, is good snowball items, but definitely situational. But I definitely do think they're better than B tier items because you are able to go them more often. Well, with the way I play at the very least. S tier are just great items on Gnar. You'll be building them more often than all of the other items lower. And then broken items, you build these items pretty much every game. Maybe not every game, but you definitely build them way, way, way more often than the other items. And they just feel broken on Gnar because they have the perfect stats for Gnar. Okay, I guess that's it. So I'll go over broken again one time. I would definitely say these are the best overall items for Gnar. You could argue Thornmail since the Grievous Wounds got nerfed, but I still think it's really good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with broken. Yeah, these items just feel perfect on Gnar. So I'm doing this tier list. Well, I did this tier list on a solo queue rank solo duo perspective. So please don't get offended by any of this if you're a for fun player. I understand. Maybe we could do a tier list, like a for fun Gnar tier list. But this is purely competitive play or mainly solo queue Gnar play or normal, just whatever you want. But mainly ranked solo queue. So yeah, this is the preseason 13/season 13 Gnar item tier list. Please let me know what you would change down below. I definitely think there are some items up here that a lot of you guys would change, but this is just my opinion, what I think is best. So yeah. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this very, very long video. But I did really want to make it since I have not updated this list in about a year. And yeah, Maybe I'll do a runes tier list and a matchup tier list in the future. I'll see you guys later, I guess. And I'll love you forever and always. Bye bye.